you really have to do some calculations on what that action is costing you. Founders, self-employed folks that are in that self-employment mindset, they're not doing that calculation. They're thinking, I'm saving $7 an hour by doing it myself, right? Oh man, I'm making that $7. I'm saving the company at $7 an hour instead. No, it's costing you a lot. So like this founder you're talking about, he did the calculation. He's like, wait a minute. If I spend an hour doing sales, I might bring in $5,000, $10,000. I might bring in $100,000 a year contract.
Welcome back to the Cory Lee Show, guys. I am really excited about my conversation and really the conversation you guys get to listen in on today. A mutual friend connected me with a new friend of mine, and really when I got the opportunity to talk, there are some people you just connect with and say, man, there's something on that guy's life. I love what the Lord is doing. He carries something, and just the positive energy and just the presence is contagious. And so man, let's just, I'd love just to have a conversation and hop on a podcast. And so, your guest today, Peter, he is a entrepreneur. Actually have started several businesses. You do coaching, and do leadership training, but now you help other entrepreneurs develop their business, grow their business. And I know a couple of weeks ago, Peter, you had an event where you help entrepreneurs scale their business, kingdom-minded entrepreneurs scale their business, but not at the expense of their values and those kind of things. And so I just want to say welcome, Peter, to the Cory Lee Show today.
Thanks for having me, Cory. I'm excited. We'll have fun today.
Yeah, I know it's going to be good. And I know I said a little bit of some of the stuff that you're doing right now, but Peter, take us on the journey a little bit. Tell us, you're in California right now, but I don't think that's where you're originally out of. Can you take us a little bit on your journey of how you got from where you were to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure, man. So the Nickel Tour, and I'll keep it short, is, grew up with, two Egyptian parents, immigrated from Egypt to the States. They went from Cleveland quickly to Florida, and that's where I grew up. And they owned a grocery store, and I started working there when I was 7, and I loved it. There's some people that are like, oh, how was it, with two working parents and having to chip in? I loved it. Yeah. And I just was fascinated by, the ability to buy a can of soup for 40 cents and sell it for $1. To me, it was just mind blowing. Right. Yeah. And so I loved working there. I loved helping my dad, and we would scheme on how to re-merchandise the store for better flow and higher revenue. And it was quite a trip, man, real journey. And so, but typical to that, immigrant mindset, they want you to have a better life than they did. And so a respectable job would have been something with a, high status, high, income. And so I got an engineering degree. My brother got an engineering degree. My sister's an optometrist. But in that journey going through college, it just didn't feel right. And so even though I was going to school, 40 hours a week or more, I had an internship for 20 hours a week. I started a business, and I started doing e-com in the year 2000. And so for the younger listeners, they're probably wondering if the internet was around then, and it was. And if e-commerce was around then, it was. And so started that and realized very quickly, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so graduated and promptly didn't take a job. I think my parents thought I was losing my mind. And that was in e-com and automotive. And, during that college journey, I meet a girl from Iowa. And we started our life in Florida, where we were, the first few years of our marriage, but then realized man, I don't want to raise my kids here. I want to raise them somewhere that's a little slower, a little quieter, a little simpler. And so moved from there to Iowa, spent 12 years there, but Florida boy in Iowa, winters were not kind to me. And so we traveled every winter and discovered California about partway through that journey. And then after several winters here, we ended up moving here. So that's how we landed here. We've been here about 6 years. Love it. There's certain things we don't like cost of living. I don't like very much. Taxes, I don't like very much. But the people here are rad. The environment and the exposure to the beach every day is nothing that's to be taken for granted. So that's how we ended up here.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I love that. And I would real quickly, I'd love to hear, so your dad and your mom, they come from Egypt, right? And so how long had they been in America when you were born?
Yeah, great question, man. My dad was here first, and then he went back for a little bit, and then they got married, and he came back to the States. But um, my dad was probably here, rough numbers, probably 8 or 9 years before I was born. My mom was only here a few years before I was born.
Yeah, and I would love to hear. It's so interesting to me that your dad he had the entrepreneurial bug. He jumps into it, and I don't know if it was out of necessity or if out of love for him, but you had out of that love there, and so I don't know if you could speak for him, but I would love to hear what caused him to jump into entrepreneurship. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is it like is that a family thing? Like, does his parents and those kind of things were they entrepreneurs, or I guess what was the entrepreneurial bug for him?
Yeah, yeah. I think that what's interesting, Corey, is like the distinction between self-employment and entrepreneurship,
Yeah,
right? I would say my parents were self-employed.
yeah,
And for them, it was one of these things where, when you're not highly educated and you're in a foreign country and you don't speak the language very clearly, there aren't a whole lot of opportunities to increase your income, right?
mm,
And so for them, I would say you posed it that way. So I'd put it this way: it was out of necessity, for an opportunity for them to be able to increase their station in life, where there didn't seem to be too much opportunity. And I had a friend of mine, in high school. He's like, "Man, what is it about the Middle Eastern folks and the folks from India? They're running gas stations and grocery stores, right?" And the way that I always thought about it is like it's incredibly hard work, incredibly demanding. Like my parents worked 7 days a week for almost, I think, six years, Corey.
man, yeah,
Not a day off. And then 6 days a week for the remainder of the time they were there, which was, roughly 18 years of 6 days a week. It's not super complicated though,
yeah,
right? So there aren't too many people that are willing to work that dang hard. And for them, it was just like, hey, there's an opportunity here. We're going to take it and we're going to do it. And they're not opposed to working hard. And I tell you right now, I learned a lot from them as far as like what it takes to make a dollar and how to put in the work and not to be scared of it.
yeah,
And so for them, I would say they were more self-employed than entrepreneurs. For them, it was out of necessity, and they saw an opportunity, and they're like, "Hey, this is how we can make things happen. This is how we can live the American dream," and they did.
yeah,
They really put the work in. I wouldn't say they came from a lineage of self-employed folks or entrepreneurs, but I'd also say that people group, as far as I've been exposed to it, they see opportunities, they take it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very opportunistic.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. In all the right ways.
Yeah, I love that. I would love just to kind of tee you up a little bit to speak a little more on that, the difference between being self-employed and being an actual business owner or an entrepreneur. And it seems to me like, and I know you see this as a coach, especially what you do, you help entrepreneurs scale their business. And so
Yeah.
it seems to be like you have this desire to have your own business, and then you hit this lid, and it's typically because you're carrying all the hats and all like. And so can you speak a little bit on to the difference between being self-employed and that entrepreneur, and then how do people actually make that break through that glass ceiling, if you will, and take that leap into actual business ownership?
Yeah. This is a great lead in, Corey, because I learned how to work really, really hard for my parents. I did not learn how to lead. I
Mm,
did not learn how to delegate. They didn't know how. They did what they could with what they had, and I'm grateful for it. I think that for them and for typical self-employed mindset, you're taking on everything. And your answer typically is, well, just work harder, work more, put in more hours, you get it done. Your thought process is typically, well, I handed it over, they didn't do it right, so I'll just take it back and do it myself. I can do it faster, I can do it better. And you probably can.
yeah,
But you can't do that forever. There's only 24 hours in a day. If you meet anybody that's got a 25-hour day, please let me know. But I don't know anybody. We all got the same amount of time. And so the difference between a self-employed person and an entrepreneur, one thing is when you're self-employed, you own a job.
mm,
I'll say it again. You own a job. That's the harsh reality for some people.
yeah,
Because people will be like, oh, I'm a business owner. We're like, I don't think so, man. I think you're a job owner. I don't think you own a business. If you walked away tomorrow, what's going to happen? It's just not going to keep going because you're the one that You're spinning all the plates. So
Mhm.
you're a job owner. You're not a business owner. Sorry. And that's okay if that's what you want. There's nothing wrong with that at all. My parents did really, really well owning a job. They did really well. But it's a very, very clear distinction. And so if that's what you want and that's where you're at, awesome. Bless you for it. If that's where you're at, but that's not where you want, okay, well, it's time to make a difference. It's time to make a change. I mean, so understanding that entrepreneurship, business ownership requires leadership.
Yeah.
It requires being able to hand things off and delegate appropriately. It requires that you be okay with 80% of what you would have put out because I'd rather have somebody do 80% as well as I did than me do 100% because I can't go too far that way.
Hmm.
So we can go a lot farther together. And so that's the very, very simple explanation to your complicated question, which is leadership and delegation and building systems and being able to scale or grow whatever your industry needs. That's the requirement, and that's a distinction. Self-employed folks will hit a ceiling over and over and over again
Yeah.
because they keep trying to hand it over, then they take it back. Try to take it over, hand it over, take it back. They don't understand what it takes to actually move people around to where they can actually do it, maybe even better than you could. Solve problems without you even noticing or even hearing about this issue because you don't have problem finders, you have problem solvers in your organization. So
Mm.
that's my response.
Man, that's so good. If I could distill down what I heard you just say, number one is awareness. Recognize which side of that you're on and do you want to be there? And then two,
Yeah.
learn to lead, empower other people, be okay with 80%, man. That was good. One of my Peter, one of my first mentors, he had a cleaning business in Florida and ended up being a multi-million dollar cleaning business. But he said kind of early on, his business started to grow and those kind of things, and he fell in love with the mop, is what he said. He fell in love with the mop. He said nobody can mop like he can mop. He said he can make that floor look so good. And then he realized that the companies that he cleaned for, they didn't pay him extra for how well he mopped, and they didn't pay him less for if somebody did 80% less than he could. But every time he touched that mop, for him, he was relegating himself to a $7 an hour at that time task when he was the main salesperson at that time. He was, the leader and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I like what you said, being okay with that 80%. That is tough for some people to
Yeah.
let go of.
It's very, very difficult. And your example is so powerful, Cory. So for folks that are doing and wearing all the hats, you really have to do some calculations on what that action is costing you.
Yeah. Mm,
Founders, self-employed folks that are in that self-employment mindset, they're not doing that calculation.
no.
They're thinking, I'm saving $7 an hour by doing it myself,
Yeah.
right? Oh man, I'm making that $7. I'm saving the company at $7 an hour instead. No, no, it's costing you and costing you a lot. So like this founder you're talking about, he did the calculation. He's like, wait a minute. If I spend an hour doing sales, I might bring in 5,000, 10,000. I might bring in $100,000 a year contract.
Hmm.
And that $7 that he was pushing the mop around, it was costing him a lot,
Yeah.
a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I meant to say this when I was introducing you, Peter. I was sitting here before we hopped on, and I was thinking about the last conversation we had, and the last time me and you were talking, we were just really connecting. I was getting to know you and some of your background and those kind of things, and this thought came to me about, man, you seem like somebody who does things with excellence, and this verse of scripture came to my mind when I was thinking about you, and I'm just reading it to you. This is Proverbs 20. I think this is Proverbs 22:29. All right, check this out. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. And when I was thinking about you and our
Hmm.
conversation, I was like, I really feel like you are somebody who does things with excellence, and you do it with such precision. And I could just feel that the first time we met, how you just do things really well. So I thought about that proverb for you. I meant to say that before we hopped on, but
Thank
I'm
you.
going to say it now while I was thinking about it.
I
Hey,
appreciate that.
Something else that really stood out to me that you do really well is identity. And that bringing out identity, introducing people to their identity, and I just love to speak into that. How important it is to recognize your identity, I guess, as a leader, but even more than that, like how important is that to understand what your true identity is and getting to that point?
Yeah, it's everything. Not to overstate it, but it is everything. And so I'll back up and give you a little bit of the backstory. So first of all, my wife and I have been getting trained just for ourselves in identity through a author and speaker. His name is Jamie Winship. And so then realizing just how much I love facilitating that aspect of leadership. And so we're incorporating that now actively into what we do. But the backstory is, I was in e-commerce forever. I was in e-commerce for 24 years, and a couple of different companies. And then in between, we ran a SaaS company. I ran a few podcasts. But I'll tell you right now, every couple of years, I would have a crisis. I've been married 21 years, and every couple of years, I would just be lamenting with my wife, like, man, I don't know. Something feels off here. And finally in 2020, my wife's like, you should probably think about doing something about this. And so I started getting coached. And a good friend of mine, he was, head of product at Zappos when Zappos was kind of in their pinnacle, at their peak. I'm having barbecue with him and lamenting about, what turned out to be identity. And he's like, oh, it's three simple, not easy, but three simple questions. What are your superpowers? What do you want the work to look like? What do you want the incentives to be? And little did I know I would start on this identity journey. And so when I was working with this coach, I'm like, superpowers, I don't know. I don't know what my superpowers are, Cory. I'm like lost, right? And so this coach, Mike, he takes me on this kind of 6-month journey of just figuring out superpowers and then figuring out what I want the work to look like and where I can utilize those superpowers. And then what do I want the incentives to be? Like, how much do I want to be compensated? But also, like, what do I want? Do I want a bunch of flexibility? Do I want to work remote? Like, just figuring out, how do I want to do this? Do I want to facilitate? Do I want to speak? And to come to the present day, for me, it's so critical to know who you are and whose you are. So as a believer, for the believers in the audience, the Christians in the audience, to know, like, man, I am a son of the King. My identity was woven into my DNA in my mother's womb. And it's imperative that we understand what it is that the Lord wants us to do. Where does he want us to go? How does he want us to operate? And for anybody who knows the parable of the talents, like, I want to stand before the Lord when I am no longer on this earth and to hear, well done, good and faithful. Mm-hmm. Right? The one talent servant in this parable who buried it because he was worried about losing it, he's called wicked. And I do not want for him to point behind me and say, hey, you see that hole right there? All the stuff, all the talent I gave you, buddy, you buried it. You didn't utilize it. That's terrifying to me. Terrifying to me to not, like, live out my calling on this earth. And so when I say that it's everything, it literally is everything. Because if you live in congruency, right, fully integrated in your calling, things just go smoother. Do they go easy? No. But they're a lot smoother because you're doing what you're called to do. This is how you were built, right? Yeah. And so when I'm talking to prospective clients and at the end I have this awkward moment where I'm like, hey, we're not a good fit for you. And they're like, wait, why? What do you mean? I'm like, well, I know that we could help you, but only when you realize that you don't even know what you want. You haven't sat to even contemplate for a moment what it is you were built to do. You haven't been thoughtful about it. I used to mentor on this startup accelerator board, and people would bring these ideas to me. And my first question was always, why you? And people would get really miffed. Like, what do you mean, why me? This is a great idea. I could make a lot of money. I'm like, bad answer. Why you? Why is this?
Question. I love
why are you? Why are you excited about this? What is this? Oh, it's just a novel thing that you think's cute, that you think will make a bunch of cash. Wrong answer. That's not going to carry you through the hard days. But if you're like, man, I'm passionate about this industry and this people group, I've got skill sets and resources and superpowers that could help make an impact. Okay, now we're cooking with gas.
Mm.
Because you're gonna have what it takes to pull you through the hard days. And I tell you right now, and you already know this, man, that the majority of business is just donkey work. The
Yeah.
majority of business is just, man, if you were like recording what I did the majority of the day, you were like, that's what you do? That looks awful. Right? You're
Oh
laughing
yeah.
because it's true. The
Oh
majority of
yeah.
it's not glamorous. It's not glamorous. It's just hard work.
Yep.
And what carries you through that hard work is that mission, that vision, that purpose, the calling, right? And so identity is everything. And so to sit and to ask the Lord, like, what do you want me to know about this? What are you teaching me here? What is this? Where do you want me to go with this? And people want to know, like, they want to know the end of the story. And it's like, oh, you don't get to know that, right? He'll meet you right now where you are.
Yeah.
He'll help you illuminate your feet and your path, but he doesn't illuminate the finish line.
Yeah. Man, that's good. I love that. I love that even question, and I can almost just feel the offense rising up when you ask that question to people. It's like, why you? But it's so good because it's almost like, hold on, let's really stop and think about this. Like that may be a great idea, but like you're saying, if you don't have the passion or the skill to carry it out, you've got to be willing and able. There are some things that I'm able to do. I've got the talent to do, but I'm just not really willing. Maybe it comes at a price I'm unwilling to pay. And there's other things that I want to do, I'm willing to do. I ain't got the skill set to do it. And so, willing and able. And I love too what you said. Kind of the way I think about it is, when people sit down and they set goals or they do the New Year's resolution, it's fun, right? Like that's fun, that's creative, whatever. But the journey is not free. The dream is free. It's fun, it's creative. But then, like you said, as you get going, that's where the work is, and people don't really like the work typically. And so anyway, I love that. Agree with everything that you said there. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Cory Lee Show. Y'all, I am on a mission to build leaders and to transform culture. So if you're looking for a speaker who speaks directly to the heart, a mentor to come alongside you and your team, or if you're in a position where you're looking for a personal coach who embraces where you are and also believes in who you could become, then I would be honored to walk this path with you. Simply reach out to me on my email at Cory@CoryLeeLeadership.com. Look, let's make your vision a reality. Contact me, and together we'll navigate the path from aspiration to achievement. Your transformation, it starts now. Man.
One thing too, man, is like, I've been talking a lot lately about yes, there is an offense that builds up. And to me, I'm like, I love a little shock factor because it shakes you out of your norm.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes you really think. It makes you think like, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Why did he just ask me that question? That's such a weird way to ask it. Because I want to shake you up. I want you to like really step out of that box and zoom out and think about it. But what I've been thinking about a lot lately is there aren't a whole lot of people that will, stop and ask for clarity. And for the people that stop and ask for clarity, they don't shut up and listen for the response from the Lord. And even the small percentage of the folks that stop and they listen, they hear and they're like, oh, I don't like that. And they're not obedient because it's hard. And what I've been thinking about lately, it's like, wait a minute. So if you stop and you listen and someone tells you that you're out of shape and you're like, all right, cool, I'm out of shape. Well, just because you know that you're out of shape doesn't mean that you're now suddenly in shape. The awareness is not the whole story.
Yeah.
You got to actually do something about it. And so these New Year's resolutions, they don't stick because it's like, okay, cool. I acknowledge that I need to get in shape. I acknowledge I need to get my finances in order. I acknowledge that I need a new job. I acknowledge that, right? Well, that's only half of it. Yeah. That's not even half of it, really, if we're being, real. It's probably 10% of it.
Yeah.
And 90% is just, man, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
You got to put it in. That's the obedience. It's like stepping into it and be like, okay, now I got to do it.
Yeah.
Now you got to act. Now you got to like, you got to put the work in.
Yeah. Oh, I like everything you're saying. I came across Jamie Winship, man, it's a couple years ago, but I've really liked, and I haven't done too much into his stuff, but I do love what he talks about helping people hear the voice of the Lord for themselves and
Mm,
identity. And I would be curious as you started to dive into, you say you and your wife, and as you've gone through that process, how has it changed your decision making process? Like you kind of hinted at it there just a second ago, asking the Lord, and
yeah.
then what nobody listens. But I'd be curious, has your decision making process changed some?
Yeah. I tell you what, my decision-making process has changed because my speed has changed.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is I am a fire ready aim guy. I just go.
yeah,
I'm high risk, but I also like to hedge my bets and make sure that, I'm mitigating risk. But man, I will move. I'll
yeah,
move fast. A lot of times I move too fast.
yeah,
A lot of times I move too fast in the wrong direction, Corey.
yeah,
And so it's stopping, listening, hearing, and obedience on repeat, on repeat,
yeah.
over and over and over again. And so this illustration I've used for years, I mean, probably 10 years now, and it's a sailing term called tacking. Are you familiar with tacking or sailing at all? Okay.
Mm.
So I'm not much of a sailor. Whoever's a real true sailor in the audience here, don't send a bunch of hate mail to Corey that I got it wrong. Just listen for a minute. Okay.
Most,
So
I'm in Mississippi. Most of the listeners, they probably don't even know what you're talking about either. So
perfect.
you just go with it.
Awesome. So just pretend I know what I'm talking about. Then
Yeah.
perfect. So you're in a sailboat. You don't get to go from A to B in a straight line.
Mm.
It doesn't work. That's just not how it works. And so you see where you want to go and you depart from point A, and then you look up from time to time and you're like, oh, shoot, we're off course a little bit, trim the sail, right? And it starts to look like a zigzag all the way up to point B. If we're not paying attention, you'll get way off course. And now it's this huge sawtooth, right? Like you're going back and forth, and it's like the most inefficient, ineffective way to get to point B, right?
Mhm.
I've started to equate this to time with the Lord and checking in, right? Ask, listen, hear, obedience over and over and over again. And now that sawtooth is much finer resolution and you get to point B faster, but you also get to it at the pace in which he wants you to get to it, on the avenue in which you want to get to it. I don't
Mhm.
know about you, but me, I'm pretty dense and I just smack across the head constantly. That's my whole life, right? Okay, dummy, come on, dude, what are you doing? Right, wake up. Okay, that's because I'm not asking, listening, hearing, and being obedient constantly. And so I'll take step one and then I will run with it 100 miles an hour. And I feel like my buddy Kenny says this all the time. He's like, the Lord's like, Kenny, come back here. That was only step one, right? Like he's like off to the races. Like, no, 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 dude, get back here, right? And so that to me is that sawtooth. It's where it's like, yeah, man, that was step one was right, but then you got step two through 100 wrong
Yeah.
because you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
And so if we're just constantly checking in, then you'll work at the pace of the Lord. And for people that aren't watching, I've got a hat on it that's a hat that says "Yoked" on it, and for me, it's from Matthew 11:29. Yoke is easy, burden is light, right? And take my yoke upon you and learn from me. He says, right?
Mm.
He does not say there's no burden. He said my burden is light. There's still a burden, right? Learn from me. What's a yoke? Do you remember? Did I tell you this illustration of yoke last time we talked?
Yes. Yeah. 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 But share it here. Go for
I'll
it.
share it with the listeners. Okay, so yoke was designed to connect two oxen together. And in some instances, they had a senior ox and a junior ox connected. Why? For what? Because the senior ox would train that junior ox and how fast to go and when to go left, when to go right, when to go forward, when to stop. But it also would help them carry a disproportionate amount of the load,
Mm.
a load that junior ox could never carry on its own, ever, ever, ever. And so for me, it's like, man, constant communication in lockstep with him, in lockstep with the Father. And that's what's changed for me because it's like if I'm constantly checking in, then I'm going at the speed he wants me to go. And a lot of times it's slower than I like. And a lot of times it's in a direction I don't understand.
Yeah.
And when we don't do that, what we are saying, we're saying that our plan is better than his plan. That's what we're saying. And
Hmm.
so anybody who's listening who's like, I don't think that's true, really, I want you to sit and think about it. Because if we're not checking in, then we think our plan's better than his plan.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I think maybe the creator of the universe has a better plan, a more cohesive plan than the one that we have. And when we don't listen, we're saying like, oh, no, 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 I got this. You can have the other areas of my life, but this part, pretty good at it. Pretty damn good. I'm pretty damn good at it. So let me handle this part. You handle the rest of my life.
Yeah. This is my superpower here.
This
Yeah.
is my superpower. And it's like, wait a minute. No, this is not yours. This is a superpower he entrusted to you and will only be executed properly when you check in with him. And the last illustration, and I'll shut up, is when you teach your kids something. And for me, we like to work with our hands here. And so like I'm showing the kids how to do something and then they run off and you're like, no, no, you don't know how to use a tool yet, dude. Come back here. You stay with me. I'm going to continue to show you how to like refine your use of this tool. You used it for half a second. You don't know what you're doing yet. Come back here. And that's what he wants us to do. He's like, oh, come back here. I'm not done. I didn't show you everything yet. Come on. I'll guide you. You're going to go off on your own. You're going to cut your finger off. Like, get back here. Right?
Yeah, that's so good, man. Man, as you're talking, I so much the same way. It's fire, 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 ready, aim, and
Mm-hmm.
I found myself as well being. I'm like you, man. I've got high tolerance for risk. I like to hedge my bets as well. Some people think, I think some people from the outside looking in is like, man, you're a little impulsive, or ooh, you take big risk or whatever. No, they are very calculated, right? Like, and I know that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And where I used to be would be like, man, I would just go. I would just go. But I have slowed that pace down a lot to wait and to listen. And, Jesus said something. He said, I only said what I heard the Father say. I only did what I saw the Father do. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get to is I'm only doing what I see Jesus doing or, what he's called me to do and step into that. I have a little bit of a question for you, and this may be a personal, I guess, in a way, but you talk about asking, listening, and obeying. I think some people can listen, and I would love to bring it down to a little more even simple. Like, what are some of the questions that you ask when you're seeking the Lord? Like, what does that look like for you
Mm-hmm.
as you ask and seek?
Yeah. There's a number of tools that I've learned recently, in the last 6 months, especially. So, first of all, one of the stories I heard was a pastor named Bob Hamp, and he gave such a really great illustration. It's Sunday morning. You walk out, you're going to go to church, tires flat. And a lot of us might be inclined to say, oh, devil's trying to keep me from going to church. And he said, well, maybe the devil's going around popping tires. He might be. I don't think so. Like I don't think I don't know that he's out there just actively popping tires. And so the better question is immediately your mind could and should go to, Lord, what is this?
Mm,
And I said it earlier. What is this? What are you teaching me here? What is this all about? And being in that posture of constantly questioning, like, well, Lord, what is this? I'm super mad about this. What is this? Why am I so mad? What is this?
yeah.
And the thing is that, when I had a really incredible revelation, and marriage is weird because as long as you're with someone, you just continue to learn, and you're like, man, how have I known you so long and I'm still learning stuff about you? This is insane, right? And I feel like it's going to be like that until we die. And so, we had a situation at the house here, and I think that a lot of times we were dealing with surface level issues, surface level emotions. We do it in our businesses all the time, right? We don't ask the why, why. Like my mentor used to always say, ask for why 5 times at minimum.
Mm,
Because there's always layers deep. It's never about the thing on the surface. It's never, ever, right? That's just an indication. It's like a check engine light for something else going on. And so had an issue here and I was pissed. So it's like righteous anger, man. Right. And, but learning to ask these questions like, all right, I'm super upset. What is this? Well, I'm frustrated. Why am I frustrated? I'm frustrated because I feel like nobody came to help me. And, oh, I feel like I got to do everything on my own and no one's coming to save me. And then what we've been learning is like, all right, so why do I feel this way? What's the first time I felt this?
Mm.
And really asking the Lord, like, what is this? Why am I feeling this? Oh, because as a kid, I had to take care of myself. Nobody's coming to save me. Interesting. Where were you in that situation? Where was God? Oh, he was there in the room. Oh, he was with me. My gosh, I wasn't alone. And then the key question is, and this is, I learned this from Jamie and his team. What do you say about me? Because I feel alone. I feel stupid. I feel like betrayed. I feel whatever the word is for you. Well, what do you say? And here's what's really cool about that question. And this somebody's posed this to me, and I've been using it with clients regularly and friends. Is somebody will say, "Well, I'm a loner. I'm a loner. I don't have very many friends, and I'm stupid or whatever."
Mm.
It's like, okay, well, does God create people that are loners and stupid? Does he do that?
Mm.
No. No, he doesn't. Oh, that's a lie. Oh, interesting. And then he asked the Lord, well, what do you say about me? I feel like a loner. I feel stupid. And asking him to reveal those things to you. And Cory, it's so powerful, dude. To me, it's been like a revolutionary lesson. And what's fun is pairing that with like leadership principles that we teach, and we teach about SOPs and processes. Like those are the three legs of the stool. But all those things individually they work great, but together that's just like beautiful because you learn like what God says about you. You learn your superpowers. Then you learn how to like be in the best seat on the bus that you've created, this business. And then you start doing that for other people. And now you get the wrong people off the wrong people off the bus, get the right people on the bus, you get them in the right seats, and you're doing it for them. And now this is like an unstoppable force
Yeah.
because everybody's living with the least amount of friction as possible because they're constantly checking in. And then we're back to that sailboat analogy where it's like, man, your boat's got just as much horsepower as my boat. Your boat's got the same size sails as mine, and we're dealing with the same amount of wind. How the heck did you get there so much faster? Like, oh, because we're all in the right seat.
Yeah.
We know what we're supposed to be doing. We know how God made us. We know how to communicate with each other, right? We know the process of trimming the sails. It's like, dude, what a well-oiled machine. It's a beautiful thing. And oh, by the way, everybody's having a lot more fun. I can tell you that right now. And you've seen this, Cory.
Mhm.
Everybody's having a lot more fun doing the same thing, right? We're doing the
Yeah.
same thing. We're making the same widgets. But there, that team is having an awesome time, and this team's miserable as heck. What's going on? That team's profitable. This team's losing money. What's going on? And last example, and I'll stop talking, is we've got a restaurateur in town here, and no matter the restaurant you go into, and she's got four of them, they're all the same sort of vibe. Everybody's just smiling. Everybody's happy. I mean, it's incredible. And it's like, we got people that own restaurants in the same town, dealing with the same demographic and the same economy, dealing kind of the same food, and they're suffering. And, oh, we can't find the right people, and it's really hard in the economy right now. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Across the street, she's killing it. I don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it all comes back to a lot of the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that is so good. I can remember in 2008, that's when the housing market crashed and all that. My wife and I were
Hmm.
living in we were living in Jackson, Mississippi at that time in an apartment. So I didn't know we didn't have any money, so I didn't know how the economy was working at all. But what I did see was I saw businesses going out and going no longer in business. We're in the physical therapy world, and I noticed that other physical therapy clinics were shutting down. But our clinic was growing. Our clinic was building clinics. And I thought, man, isn't that interesting? That, like you
Hmm.
said, in the same town, in the same economy, that some are going out of business while others are thriving. I wonder what it is. And so, man, I thought that was good. Peter, I think you said something that is so powerful that if we can helping people understand, recognize the lie that is holding them captive, and then replace it
Hmm.
with the truth of who God's called them to be, Man, as you were talking about that, I was like, man, that's so freeing to the individual. But as a leader, if I understand who God has called them to be, man, it helps me to lead them in that identity. It helps me to lead them so much better too. And so, man, that's
It's
good.
good. It's
That's
good.
good. Well, Peter, I know we're right at time, and man, I've truly, truly valued our conversation. You've added a ton of value to me. I know you have to our listeners as well. But man, if there's somebody listening and is like, man, I want to connect with that guy. I want to be a part of maybe what he's doing. Some of his, I know you've got a cohort that's going to launch. Got another group.
Mhm.
Online opportunity as well that you guys may be launching here soon. And so if somebody wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find out what you're doing and get connected with you?
Yeah, we've got a free resource. If I can offer that to the listener, they can just text Whitestone, 2 words, to 55444, and they'll get a download of 5 secrets to leading biblically. That'll also get them on our email list, and then they'll be notified the next time we have a live event. And we've been doing these live events more and more often, and probably doing another one here in July. And the live events are just us, just giving, man. Just a lot of teaching on some of the stuff we talked about here, plus more, and just to help leaders grow. For me, it's like I like to say that this is a business, but it's also a selfish endeavor. So me helping you understand all these things we just talked about is me living out my purpose,
Yeah.
and so and living out my calling on this earth. And so I have to be effective at this. It's imperative. It's a requirement. It's kind of a non-starter. So any way I can do that, whether it's through our content, through our live event, through coaching, whatever it is, I'm here.
Man, that's so good. We're going to put that in the show notes, but can you say it one more time, what they text and then the number to text as well?
Yeah, text Whitestone, 2 words, to 55444.
Got it. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Well, Peter, man, truly appreciate you and thanks for coming on and having a conversation with us today, man.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for taking a listen. I know Peter has added value to you, and feel free to reach out to him and connect with him on some of the things that he is doing. I know he'll continue to add value there. And so thank you for listening, and make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with any of the latest episodes of the Cory Lee Show. We hope you have a great day, and God bless.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope I have added value to you. And if you have found value in this episode, let me know. Drop a comment and make sure you share with a friend or family member. See you next episode.